Dzień dobry, witam Was bardzo serdecznie i zapraszam na wyjątkowy, bo pierwszy tego typu materiał, jaki pojawia się na kanale Polityka Zagraniczna. Jak zapowiadałem jakiś czas temu, chciałbym, by było tutaj więcej gości z zagranicy, tak abyśmy mogli poznawać świat właśnie z perspektywy ludzi mieszkających w innych państwach. Mam nadzieję, że ten format uda się na stałe wprowadzić do ramówki kanału. Dajcie znać, co o tym sądzicie. A dziś rozmowa naprawdę bardzo poruszająca, przynajmniej dla mnie. Mam wielką nadzieję, że nie tylko pozwoli Wam ona lepiej poznać państwo oddalone o parę tysięcy kilometrów od Polski, ale również, że osadzi naszą polską rzeczywistość w innym kontekście, że da inną perspektywę, która zmusi do myślenia. O wielkim kryzysie politycznym i gospodarczym, jaki trwa w Libanie, opowie parlamentarzystka, posłanka do libańskiego parlamentu profesor Najat Aoun Saliba. Rozmowa w języku angielskim, ale z polskimi napisami. Serdecznie zapraszam. It is my great honor to welcome a very distinguished guest, Professor Najat Aoun Saliba, who is professor of chemistry, but also a member of parliament from Lebanon. Professor, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your time as well. Thank you.
Of course, we are going to talk about current political situation in Lebanon, current political crisis in your homeland. But first of all, I would like to start with basics. How does political system in Lebanon work? What role does religion play in Lebanese political system? And how do you perceive changes in Lebanese political environment?
So Lebanon is a democratic country. It is run by a president, a cabinet with a prime minister, and usually it ranges between either 18 to 24 ministers. Sometimes they go up to 36, but this is usually not the norm. And then it has 128 members of the parliament. And of course, for the parliament, there is a speaker of the house and there is a vice speaker of the house. In terms of religion, it has been established since its independence that the president is Christian Maronite. That means Maronite is a sect that is the closest to Catholic. And then the prime minister is Muslim Sunnist, and the speaker of the house is Muslim Shiite. So meaning that the main different religions in the country are represented in the top three leaderships. There are also other sects that are represented in like the vice president, the vice minister, and so on and so forth. We have 17 different sects or religions in the country. And that's why it's a bit complex when we start talking about politics.
Yes, the Lebanese political system is for sure one of the most complex I've ever read about. So explain, because the Lebanese parliament was unable to elect president for 11 times now. So first of all, what is the role of president in political system? Is the president in charge of the executive branch of the government, or the prime minister is? I mean, what's at stake in what you are doing right now?
So currently what we have no president. We have a caretaker government, executive body. And then we have a parliament that is in a state of open sessions to elect a president, meaning that it has no function of legislation or monitoring, evaluation, nothing, questioning the ministers, nothing. So the parliament is only in a state of electing the president. The caretaker government cannot meet because it's a caretaker government. It's not a regular government. That means they have presented their resignation from the government, and now they are asked to continue working until we elect a president, and then the president assign by consultation a prime minister who will then form the new cabinet. So we are in a complete power vacuum. No president, to sign any decree, no cabinet to take any executive decision, and a parliament that is unable or should not be doing anything except meeting, negotiating, discussing until a president is elected. And under, with this power vacuum comes all the needs of the people that cannot be met because this body, this democratic body, is in complete paralysis.
So is it possible to have elections of a parliament first in order to have such a parliament that can elect a president? Because what's next? I mean, what's the way out of this situation?
So the parliament, the 128 members of the parliament were elected last May 2022. And this parliament is new and it has a 4-year mandate. And so what it needs to do, all members of the parliament needs to meet. They need to meet, come, talk to each other, present the names of the candidates that they wish to consider, and then let the democratic rule prevail and elect a president.
And what majority the president has to have to be elected?
It's in the Constitution, it says that the president has to have 86 votes from the first round. But if we do consecutive rounds, it can, the president can be elected with 65 votes from the second round and on. And so it's not so bad, and every democratic country can do the same, or they do the same even before the president leaves office. So we've been 3 months into the vacuum, and we have very little sign or no signs of these people or these 128 members willing to come to the parliament and exercise and assume their roles.
So what political forces are behind this blockade?
Yeah, that's a very important question. What we have right now, we have a completely divided government or parliament. So we have a huge tension between left or between Hezbollah and allies of Hezbollah, and then the extreme right of people who are calling for independency, sovereignty of the country, and only the army being able to rule the country. So we have like 2 poles, a bipartisan that is completely dividing the parliament, and none of these parties is able to get the majority to vote for a president.
So I know that there's an action of some members of parliament to occupy or to stay in the building of the parliament. What are you trying to achieve by such action?
For the first time in the history of Lebanon, 2 MPs have decided to really apply the law and obey by the constitution that calls for MPs for immediate election of a president. We have attended 11 sessions that made of this prestigious and honorable job a mockery, because they were like throwing names left and right or putting white papers and not taking their job seriously. So after 11 rounds, and people are really negligent about considering a serious candidate, or some of them were, not all of them, what we decided to do, we said enough is enough. We will stay in the parliament as the constitution indicates until we, rally or it's an attempt actually to work with the parliamentarians to come and talk to each other, bring the different opinions together in order for us to really agree on 1 or 2 candidates that will put them forward for election.
And that's the political scene, that's the politicians, the elites of the country. But how does the ordinary people react to what is going on in parliament?
The people are completely exhausted because we've had an economic collapse and an inflation that has gone into the 3 digits of 180% inflation. So people are fending for themselves because we have no government. We have lack of medicine for cancer patients, diabetics, and all others. We have lack of formula milk. We have lack of electricity, like you see, I'm in complete darkness with only a flashlight next to me, especially in the parliament here, sitting in the parliament in a very, very cold night and in complete darkness. So people are also living the same way I'm living here today. And we have a strike by the teachers today, and people or students who are going to public schools are no longer able to do that. They are staying at home because the teachers are calling for a salary adjustment, and it's a complete chaos. And it's not like, we were hit by a tornado or this is, this happened spontaneously like this. This is the consequences of all those who were in the parliament before the election in May 2022. Those are the consequences of the people who were in cabinets or represented in cabinets before this one or with this one as well. So they have not ruled the country or they have not looked at the benefits of the people. They have mainly looked at their own gain in a very, very selfish way.
But Professor, please tell us, how is it possible that the inflation is as high as 200%? What were the reasons behind such a huge collapse of Lebanese economy? What were the mistakes made by the people in power?
There was a very, a big scandal and a Ponzi scheme, whereby, the central bank has inflated the interest rates. It has called upon the people to come and do nothing, just put their money in the banks and giving them high interest rate on the money that they have put in the bank, while they were taking dollars and transferring the dollars into Lebanese pounds and really benefiting from this transfer and shipping the money abroad. It was a major fraud that is still going unaccountable. And this is what we're calling for. We really need to hold people who have brought this country to its knees accountable.
Professor, from outside perspective, it seems like your homeland needs a very deep structural changes. How do you pursue such changes? What is the mechanism behind changing political system in Lebanon? How can situation improve? Not only in case of the current political crisis, but in general, in a broader sense of whole political system.
Look, I have been very actively engaged in humanitarian aids and working with the community to really lift up the community and help the community meet its needs. I have worked with a bottom-up approach, but this bottom-up approach only helped the rulers who were corrupt stay in the government as long as they can, because the people are meeting their needs in a way or another. All the studies have shown that in a complete collapse like the one we're living, you have to start from top down. And that's what we're calling for. We're calling to reinstate the institutions by electing a president first, asking the president to really go quickly in forming a cabinet. And by reinstating those 3 top bodies of legislation, executive power, and the president, we can negotiate with the IMF for a loan or help. We can establish some relationship with countries who are willing to help, but they are waiting for us to really regroup ourselves. So reform can be on the right path only if we start organizing ourselves. And that's the reason behind why we're sitting here and calling for immediate interventions or immediate election of the president, because reform or any negotiation with IMF and other countries cannot start except by activating all of these three bodies and getting on with our lives.
So, Professor, my last question is: what people from abroad who are willing to help, either from the political standpoint or humanitarian standpoint, can do to help ordinary people in Lebanon, but also to move forward those changes that you are talking about? What international community can do?
Look, the international community can help a lot in addressing this local but very, very important global question, and that is exercising democracy and protecting democracy. So what we are doing here by sitting in the parliaments day and night, what we're saying is we really need the democracy to prevail. We want people to come and exercise their rights, those 128 members, and elect a president. And by electing a president and reinstating the institutions, the people are will be attending to people's needs. That's human rights, and we really need to reestablish the state of law. So I am calling from your platform all international parliamentarians who really care for democracy and for human rights to really shed the light on our standing here in the Parliament of Lebanon day and night, and show solidarity, because that's not only a local question, that's definitely a global question that will ask from all of us parliamentarians to stand side by side in order for us to protect democracy. Because if it is not democracy, and if our system is going to crumble and be smashed the way it is, it's dictatorship. So we have two choices: either we protect democracy and we work towards accountability, transparency, and inclusivity, or we just let go of the system, continue doing the same thing that they have done for 30 years, and let the dictatorship prevail. So really, thank you so much for this question, and I would really be open for any phone call or any Zoom meeting or any type of intervention or discussion with my fellow parliamentarians, democratic parliamentarians all across the world.
Professor Najat Saliba, it was my great honor. Thank you for your time, and from my part, and I know that I can speak for many of viewers of this interview. We wish you all the best, and we hope that democracy in Lebanon will prevail.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
And hopefully one day we will have another interview with the lights on.
Of course. I hope so. Thank you.
Thank you.